Any other news which you are following nowadays?
Sir, COVID cases are again rising.
Okay. Two or three more news which are actually trending in today's newspaper or headlines. What all those? No guesses, or you stop guessing? Two more news are, of course, the Agnipath scheme and the Russia-Ukraine war. And today, I will be discussing about that Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, what exactly this Russia-Ukraine war is, and this will be an interactive session where I will be speaking to you guys, and looking forward for your suggestions and your views on that, what you are looking for. But before going to that Russia-Ukraine war, uh, as a public policy professional, or of course the aspirant in the public policy, whenever we see anything, we need to factorize it in segments, or factorize into uh, the pillars, or the pointers, which is very much necessary. See, in any case, either the good or the bad, in any of the policy or the scheme, you need to factorize it in terms of 5 to 6 major pointers actually, during your school days and during your college days also. Whenever you are writing, or even students are preparing for IAS papers, they keep on actually writing on this, that how what all those factors are. Usually these factors are firstly the political factors for any of the activity or any of the event. Then comes the economical factor. Then comes the socio-political factor. Fourth is the technical factor or technological factor on that. And fifth one is the legal factor. For any of the scheme, any trending news, any pros and cons for uh, uh, for those things, you need to analyze, or you need to actually take it in this perspective, that okay, what can be the factors, a political factor, what can be the reason of that, what can be the economical factor, what can be the socio-economical factor. Suppose if you are going to analyze Agnipath scheme also, either in the pros or in the cons, okay, both the teams, there can be the pros also, there can be the cons also for that Agnipath scheme too. Some are saying that these all are the pros, some are saying these are the cons. But in each of the waves, or in each of the analysis, you need to factor it accordingly. Likewise, which I have said to you, that political factorization, economical factorization, socio-political factorization, legal factorization, and the technical factorization of that particular event, incident, or the news. Okay, this is of course primarily why I am saying this, because whenever we are going to analyze the activity, that is Ukraine-Russia war, or not only the Ukraine-Russia war I am talking about, if you analyze any of the war in the past, either the Gulf War, or Russia-Iraq war, or China Chinese introduction actually, or the Vietnam War, or the Cold War between Russia, or even our this thing Russia and USSR at that point of time, or if you compare it with the World Wars One, World War Two, and so on. So you need to analyze these factors on this. Okay. Now comes uh, what can be the reasons of the war? Can anyone say? आप लोग में से कोई बता सकता है कि किसी भी जगह पे किसी भी तरीके से वॉर के रीजंस क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम कीर्ति, वॉर के रीजन क्या हो सकते हैं? या शिवांग प्लीज.
Sir, political interest of any country is suffering by other countries, so it can lead to war.
ओके, सेकंड यू कैन.
As a claim over territorial area.
ओके, थर्ड.
And sir, in order to
Sir,
obtain strategic location can also be is also a key factor for a war.
Okay, Kirti, your point. What can be the reason of the war?
Sir, monopoly over the market also can be a reason.
Hmm.
sir, land can also be the reason for.
Land acquisition is also the major factor. Yes,
So ideological differences.
of course it can be. Uh, come out. Speak up for this. This is a very generic question actually. कि war के reason क्या क्या हैं? क्या क्या हो सकते हैं?
Sir, religion also plays very important role in war.
हाँ, region, strategic region of course.
Sir, if the invading country wants some resources that the other country has.
हाँ, of course. Uh, Acquisition on the resources. Any other point?
Sir, clash between the two superpowers can lead to
हाँ,
war.
this can lead to a war, of course, if the alliances or the there are political allies or political allies are there, that can actually lead to war.
Sir, economic reasons can lead to war.
Yes, of course, economic reasons can be. Okay, you guys have, of course, delivered all those reasons, but let me summarize few of these. Uh, the reasons can be safety and security of the country, infiltration or encouragement of the regions, colonialism, aggression. Of course, if you see in the past, before World War II, up to the World War II, this was the major factor actually, the colonial aggregation across the globe. Then comes internal conflicts that actually leads to a civil war, not the exact war, but a type of war. And other reasons can be the monopoly of the market expansion. Reason can be the capitalism, or even the reason can be some broader. If you see, there can be a reasons which some of you guys have actually shared that there can be the reasons because of the ideology or the thoughts or the alliances. Suppose someone is allied with Russia, someone goes and allied with Ukraine, and now slowly teams are aligning and then becomes two teams, and then we are for fighting or supporting each other. Some part of countries actually supporting Russia and some part of countries supporting Ukraine. I'm just quoting an example that can lead to the wars or the types of war. Uh, okay, now if you go, suppose a war is happening, okay, what can be the effect of those war? Can you give me some bullets on that? What can be the effect of the war?
Civilian
Firstly,
casualties.
between the two countries, and secondly the globally. If the regions, so narrate it accordingly. Ki
The
within the
prices
two
of
countries,
everything will.
wait a while. Within the two countries, what can be the effect for onto those two countries, and then what can be the effect of that particular war across the globe? Please let me know. Yeah, look, please.
Sir, at global level, there will be a inflation, and
Hmm.
respect to two countries, there will be civilian casualties, as we have seen in Russia-Ukraine war, as we have seen in Syria.
Okay.
Sir, it
And
will
what?
also affect the stock markets of many countries.
Hmm.
So it will also affect the long-term business, which would have happened if the relation between both the
Because
countries was good.
usually the economics or the businesses are going around. If we are saying that we are a multinational company, it means several companies are actually operating in our country. Likewise, if the market is open to all or the global market is there, it gets affected because of that. Yes, of course.
So there can be a financial problem if the funds that usually go towards other things go towards the war effort.
Yes, because more and more you are utilizing your fund, whatever is there in your hand, you are utilizing either for the worship or for the people, those who are in the war. So please come up, come up. What can be the effect
So
of these
mass
wars?
destruction can also happen.
Yeah, come again, please.
Mass destruction.
Mass destruction will be there, of course.
So also the mentality and the psychology of the people or the children can also get affected
Uh,
from war.
in long term, if you see the effect of any of the war, long term effect is uh, 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 a different set of thought, or people in human or humanity gets affected because of this long duration of the wars. Actually, physical harm will be there, of course. Physical harm will be there, mental harm will be there, disassociation with several countries, disassociation with ideologies will be there, and if it prolong, it can reduce to so many things. Of course, reduction in material or the resources which we have. See, if you see the example of the wars happening around in the world, uh, just due to we have an opponent or enmity among us between the two countries, we go and actually destabilize the resources of that particular country or the culture of that particular country. So somewhere down the line, we are actually hitting the resources not only for that particular country. Actually, we are indirectly uh, actually hitting or targeting our resources indirectly. Any other reason or any other effect out of this war whenever it happens in any of the country? Okay, so you have, it will affect world climate badly. Of course, the environmental effect will be there. So see, if you see globally, I can narrate it likewise that uh, there will be decline or threat towards the economical progress of the countries. There will be mass destruction, there will be environment threat, and of course, this political alliance and alliance, whatever the allies or alliances will be there, this will create a gap among the countries. Actually, this will not bridge the gap, this will create the gap. Globally, the effect of any of the war will be this. Now, if I take the case of the two countries, those who are fighting actually, suppose India, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, or China, uh, China or other country, uh, America, Vietnam, America, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand. I'm just giving the example. Suppose these two countries are fighting. Um, you all will endorse that there will be an effect socially also. Politically, destabilization will be there. Economical or economics of that particular country will go down. Market will crash, and the relations among the internationals and the nations, those who are having actually a good relations, that too will get affected because of this. uh, Now you got the reason of the war, you came to know about the reason of the war and the effect of the war. Now can anyone tell me uh, what is the background of USSR, or what is the background of this Russia Ukraine war actually? What is the background?
So the main thing, the main problem was in Ukraine alliance with NATO. So what Russia wanted that Ukraine should never join NATO, because if it will, then it will create problem for Russia, because now, for example, let's suppose that Ukraine joins NATO, and now what will happen? That Russia will be having a claim over their territorial region and their strategic value. So actually, the main concern was strategic value, and if Ukraine joins NATO, then definitely it will be going to harm Russia. And another problem was that, as per the Article 5 of the NATO, so if any member of NATO gets attacked, if they face attack from any other country, then it will be considered that attack has been caused against all members of the NATO. And that was the second concern of Russia. If they had war in future with Ukraine, then definitely it will be going to affect them, because US will also come and it will be interfering unnecessarily. That's it, sir.
Okay, okay. Shivank, your view?
Sir, the basically idea of war of Russian aggression on Ukraine is that European Union. Sir, Ukraine wants to be a part of the European Union, but Russia doesn't want Ukraine. Uh, so it always raises its voice against the choice of Ukraine going with the European Union, and it doesn't want America to be on the ground of Ukraine and use Ukraine's ground for doing operations against Russia or military exercises that they will carry against Russian territory.
Okay. Any other view on this? Okay, let me give you the idea. Of course, you both are correct in terms of this, that what is the major factor of this. But uh, what is the background actually? If you see the background, this journey or this uh, particular occasion starts, or this particular event starts as soon as the bifurcation of USSR starts actually. You might be knowing that earlier, uh, up to I think 1991 or so. Of course, 1991. Audible to you all?
So you are not audible.
Yeah, is I'm audible?
Yeah, you are now audible. Perfectly fine, sir.
Okay, okay. I think some internet discontinuity was there. Okay. So the background starts with the disintegration of USSR. Earlier, the Ukraine was the part of USSR, and it is a very strategic place actually, or the country for USSR, because this is only the country which is actually in the middle of USSR to the connectivity to the European countries, and of course indirectly connected to US or other alliances or other groups of the world. So the strategic position of Ukraine is the major factor for Russia actually, and because of this this particular war is there. Whatever Alok said, and of course Sivank also told, both the reasons are correct, that Russia is asking Ukraine not to alliance or not to get alliance with either European Union or the NATO, because if they are going and allying with either the European countries, that is Euro, uh, either the part of Euro countries or the NATO, this actually gives a permission the to the countries of the NATO to use that Ukraine as a base, and of course the European Union also to use Ukraine as a base, either for the military activities or otherwise too. It can be non-military exercises also, or for the occasions or for the opportunities of non-military too. But this will actually harm directly or indirectly to Russia if there is a military action either by NATO, because once they go and make an alliance with NATO, then as per the article of the NATO, all the NATO countries will be actually against of Russia. It means there will be a war. or war kind of situation. So just to avoid, these this particular actually uh, events which should not happen or should not go for a long period of time, Russia is restricting Ukraine to be a part of that. And because again and again, either Ukraine is taking help from European countries or the NATO countries, or some of the people or some of the exercises or military operations are going around in that provinces of that Ukraine, which is very much, which is west to, of course, Russia, and that is actually the border of Russia and Ukraine. And because of this conflict starts actually, and that is the greater threat. So the greater threat for Russia is NATO. Greater threat for Russia is European countries, because once a European countries and NATO's are there, okay, in Ukraine land, it means there is a directly interference of US and other alliances too. So this is the major factor or the major reason between Russia and Ukraine. You got the reason, but this can be altered or it cannot be altered. What are your views? Can we alter this particular situation which actually is now presently there? Can this be altered?
So only possible thing which is the only thing which is possible right now, that if Ukraine surrenders and if they make change in the constitution, they say if they give the guarantee that they will never ever join the NATO, then we can alter the situation.
So
If you,
I would
yeah, please proceed.
so I would disagree with Alok because each country has the power that it can improve its strength and it can become more powerful. तो we can't take that right from Ukraine कि आप मत register करो और आप कभी नहीं करोगे. In fact, they should have, uh, I think they should have sat down and done a meeting, and they would have talked about all the problems that are coming in their way rather than letting someone back off from getting power and earning more power for their country. Because Ukraine is also responsible for protecting its people who are living there, all those people who are living there. So it has right to gain more power.
Okay. Do you know this
Sir, but
that presently let me give you one note here. Presently, if you see Ukraine, they are not at all the part of either NATO or European countries. But still the situation is there. Why exactly the situation is there actually?
Sir, because the leader of the Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky, is again and again threatening Russia or going towards European Union, and that's why this situation occurred. Because America showed support to Mr. Zelensky, and he is running after the European Union or United States and disagreeing or opposing Russia in its every step.
Any other view on that? Is there any military exercise happening in and around Ukraine, or any NATO people or European country armed people are there on the land, using the land of Ukraine presently?
No, sir, but European countries are providing arms and ammunition to Ukraine against Russia, and some people are volunteering from public of Ukraine.
Okay, no worries. Alok, Zoeb is having issue. No worries. Okay. Uh, okay. So they are not the part of this, but they are actually taking help either from NATO or European countries, or again and again going to these alliances to take the help or the support. And that is why Russia was telling, okay, don't go to those people, don't make this land to utilized by these people actually. And if you will be doing, then I will go for a war. So war happens on what occasion? Alok or Sivank, if you can say, at what point of time actually this war happens?
sorry, sir, I was not able to hear you. Could you please repeat?
Yeah, at what point of time actually this war happens? What was the immediate or a trigger point of that?
Uh, so I'm not aware about the about trigger point, but only thing which I know that the background is related to the alliance with NATO, and I don't know the trigger point.
So I think that the trigger point is that that Ukraine has declined Russia's request, and that made Russia regress and act like start a war to start a war.
Any other view? If you were following that, of course, what Khushi is saying that there was a meeting schedule or planned between uh, Russian delegate and our Ukraine delegate. And because of that meeting, it was not fruitful, and Ukraine didn't go like Russia was saying. And that actually was the immediate trigger point for going Russia to switch on to the war. Although uh, uh, that particular territory was not utilized uh, either by NATO or the European countries, and that is what uh, Ukraine officials keeps on saying, that Zelensky keeps on saying that my land is not actually utilized or used by any of the other person, any of the person who is from NATO or Ukraine. But since the war is there on their head, on their foot, and Russia is actually they keep on bombarding, they keep on fighting, and that makes Zelensky to actually take support from European countries or NATO countries uh, to ask for those arms and ammunitions and the support. He is again and again asking more and more uh, weapons in support so that they can fight with Russians, although it is not the situation. Okay, this becomes you got the idea of war reasons. You came to know about the background of it. You also know the effect of this particular, and you also know about the trigger point of that. Now, coming to the effect of this particular war in terms of globally, we will discuss, and then in terms of India, we will discuss. So, can anyone say what can be the effect of this particular war globally?
Sir, sir, hike in crude oil prices around the world.
Hmm.
Sir, hike in steel prices,
Hike in
prices of steel.
steel. Okay. Any other point?
So for
And sir,
problem
it
we are
will also
talking
creating
about.
a problem for all countries. So, for example, sir, US is supporting Ukraine, but India is in problem to whom to support, either to US or either to Russia. So, this kind of problem may always happen whenever there is war.
Come again, Alok.
Sir, for example, yes, like the war is happening right now, and now India is in confusion. So either to support Russia, either to support or to support Ukraine, or to support the US. So these kind of problem always happen because whenever the war happens, so a country which is having a good relation with both the countries, uh,
They need to
they
think for to whom we should go and
yeah, definitely.
support them.
So
Okay,
like
if you if
when US and Iran, the conflict between US and Iran was going on. So India were a little confused to whom to support because they were taking crude oil from the Iran, and ultimately they were having good relation with the US.
but at that point of time we don't have a so much good relations with US, so it was quite easy for India to actually take the decision. Although we were not the part of any of the country, we were not either not supporting to Russia, that is US, or of course Iraq. We were not supporting any of the country, but indirectly we were against the weapon of mass destruction. That was there. That's it. Our stand was that actually at that point of time. Now, let me give you the idea. If you see the country like Ukraine and Russia, they are the major players in energy sector. Energy sector in the sense of, if you take the uh, production of the Crude oil is higher in these countries. If you take the production of fertilizers, they are the major producers. If you take the production of availability of resources, that is coal, Russia is higher in that. And if you take the production of food grains, these two countries, Ukraine and Russia, they have a major portion actually uh, across the globe. In one of the article, I was viewing, or I got to know that Ukraine and Russia is having 25% of whatever the food production, food grain production is there across the globe. Russia is the major producer of fertilizers being utilized by each and every country. So you got to know how exactly the war between these two major producers of energy driven resources actually is driving this politics or driving this war, or you can term it a uh, energy political warfare, okay, or oil driven politics or oil driven war. So so many countries across the globe get affected, or directly or indirectly they get affected by this particular war. The uh, the resources like food grains or the food security given to various countries or various individuals is into stake, is in danger. Countries like Sri Lanka is an example to us. Countries like Pakistan is an example to us. And other countries also are actually in the grip of this particular situation, or because of this warfare, the threat for the food security is major. Threat for food security, the increase of the prices for either the oil or for the petroleum crude oil or for the coal is higher and higher when going actually shooting up. So inflation rate is also going or crossing the limits, I must say, in several countries. In India also the same situation is there. Now, uh, if you see the case, what is the Indian stand actually? How India is following or what India is doing in this particular time period once the war is going around with US and Ukraine? What is the way path, or what is the way India have chosen?
Sir, India is trying to neutralize the situation in both the countries, I think so.
Hmm. And what all those challenges are coming in, or what all the news coming in? Yeah, neutral stand, of course.
Sir, first challenge India faced as a country was to evacuate its students from Ukraine in between the war between Russia and Ukraine. So it has to talk to both the countries to discuss and solve their issues while going towards the war and destroying many other lives in that region.
Yeah, the very first situation arises there is evacuation of students, and it was massive. How much? Somewhere 20,000 or 30,000 students were stuck up there. Our medical students, those, because the uh, payout for medical studies or study of the medical uh, medicines or medical actually is less as compared
Excuse
to
me,
our
sir.
country. Yeah.
Sir, I have spoken to my cousin, sir. He was also stuck there.
Mhm.
So he told me that it was a very tough situation because there was less of shelters there, and sir, they were not able to have proper food even.
Yeah, see, if you are not on your motherland, okay, that is India, okay, and you don't have a resources or you don't have a people around those who are supportive, because these people are now stuck up or they are following the war pattern. They will not be following you, or they will not be supporting you. Our major or nodal point is the embassy. An embassy can create within a time frame of week or so, they can create certain nodal points where they need to reach. But the point where exactly the war was going around, that is west bank of that is western part of Russia and eastern part. Some part was highly struck up, highly volatile. People were not able to reach to that particular nodal point also, where Indian embassies have created the nodal points, because they were stuck up due to this war. Every now and then bomb shelling was going around. People were stuck up and they were not able to reach to those places, and that is why this situation arises. Although our embassy, our airport authority peoples, our officials, our government of India has taken a great work. I must admire that particular work, of course, also. But that was the one very first challenge which we have faced due to this particular war. Now, what can be the second challenge for India, of course? What is the second challenge for India? Can anyone say on this?
So bilateral relation is also a challenge for India.
Yeah, bilateral relations was the major challenge for India. Why? Because see, in one hand, we have a country that is US, okay, which is supporting this particular Ukraine or NATO or European alliances, and we have a very good relations, or we have a good economical ties with US. And secondly, the major part of the role or major role of this warfare was the Russia, which is also a very good friend. Of course, I must say not a good friend. They keep on supporting India on major platforms. At various occasions, they have supported India. So we cannot actually go otherwise, and we need to help Russia too. And that was the major factor or major concern for country like India, that how to keep a cordial relations between these two countries, that is US also, and of course Russia also. And secondly, uh, the major setback was that Ukraine was also asking the support for giving the aids or supplying the aids to the that particular country. Now, if you are supporting one country uh, ideologically, ideally, the ideology of that particular country is aligned with your country. The embassy, the Ministry of External Affairs, all are actually aligned with that particular country. And the second country, which is also in the war, is also asking for the aids or supply of aids to their people. Now, India was somewhere looking around what to do and how to approach for this. Although India did actually that particular support to, we have escalated that support to Ukraine people also, and that is why we we have taken a actually neutral way to neutralize this particular event. But of course, the relations with US and with UK, US and this thing, Russia was major concern for India to actually take on. Then comes, what was the major concern? Now, if you come to, this was the political concern, I must say. Okay, the trigger point actually is giving you first set of challenge, that is evacuation of the students. Now, the post effect of this war is happening. That is, firstly, the relations or the cordial relations between the embassies and bilateral relations between the countries. Now comes the economical challenge. What was that for India?
So what kind of challenges?
Economical challenge for India. What was that? Due to this particular warfare.
So that India had to purchase the oil at inflated. There was inflation in the prices of petrol and diesels. So India also had to purchase crude oil from Russia, and that too prices were too inflated.
Any other view? What was that economical factor which is actually in
And so
thought of?
there was a disruption trade also. So basically, India was not able to have a trade which it was having before the war was going on.
See,
Sir, as Russia faced many of the restrictions imposed by the global world, So it became difficult for India to have an economical relations or trade share between Russia and India.
huh.
So it was also a major challenge.
See, the moment this war actually started or get started, uh, we are we are working or we are into the global trade business now. Countries, all the MNCs are also here also, and our headquarters or our corporate offices are there in the globe also. We keep on operating in various different countries. So the concern was, once this war happens or once this war is actually is at place, the global trade organizations or the global trade unions, they imposed certain sanctions towards Russia, and under that sanction, the countries, those who are the part of this particular union or these particular alliances or the organizations, they need to follow that particular uh, legislation or that particular uh, memorandum. Okay, and because of this, uh, in one way or the other, there are certain articles which we cannot actually purchase from either part of these countries, that is Russia or the Ukraine, majorly Russia. So because of this sanction, the rates, the inflation goes up and up. Secondly, uh, the OPEC oil petroleum countries, okay, those who are having big refineries or the big reservoirs of this oil and petroleum reservoirs, their output is also now declining day by day, or they have declined certain output of these refineries or the reservoirs. Because of this, and we have imposed the this particular memorandum towards Russia. So the inflation goes up and up for certain articles, which is very much necessary, like coal, petroleum, gases. And because of this particular rise in the price, the global economy get disturbed or get disrupted because of it. And likewise, India got also affected by this, that we get less number of articles or we get less number of support in different from different countries. But what we did is, what we did good actually in this, although sanctions were there, and India used wisely the data set, that how actually the European countries or US is actually supporting or utilizing this particular opportunity. They keep on tracking about the purchase capacity or purchase level of these countries, that is European countries and US countries, with US. They thought, or not they thought, of course, they have seen that there is not such greater decline or business decline if you compare with US countries to the Russian countries or European countries to the Russian countries. And because of that, we keep on actually importing that crude oil, petroleum, and coal from Russia. And because of this, if you see the data, if you compare the data of the past year to this year, that is of the same month, that is in the month of June, the import which we did actually with Russian countries for this energy sector or energy goods, that is oil, petroleum, and coal, it is somewhere 4 times higher than this. And one good news out of this is, all this crude oil or all this petroleum which is coming, this is coming with a reduction of 30%. They get the rebate out of this also, as compared to the global rates. So India get advantage, that they get the secondary market, although there was primary market of these goods, that is oil, petroleum, gas, but they get the secondary market, that is Russia, with lesser price. Although still we need to evaluate that, is it really the lesser price, because we are not bartending them with the with this what you call dollars. This import and export, or this purchase uh, is actually happening using the ruble and the Indian currency. So that we need to evaluate, and we need to evaluate the transportation cost on this also. But the data which is present as if now, it is showing that the reduction is, or that increase in the import from Russia to India is sometimes 4 times higher, with 30% of less price. That is good sign for India. So you got how the economics actually is playing in this role. Uh, and India gets the cheaper one. So bilateral relations, we need to be very much vigilant. We need to use the data set. We need to keep our eyes open whenever these types of occasions are happening actually. Now comes, uh, what was the Indian stand for this? If you can, if someone can narrate the thought of Ministry of External Affairs, what our minister said on that particular World Forum, that is Jaishankar Saab, what he told in the World Forum, what he told at that global forum in Russia and other countries, whenever someone is asking that why you are importing or why you are actually canceling your export of rice to various countries, what was the answer given by them or given by Indian authorities? The answer given by Ministry of External Affairs was, whatever we are doing, we are not doing or we are not targeting any of the country. If US is okay to actually sell it out, the same crude oil at same rate, we are okay to purchase from US also and other countries. And whatever we are doing it, we are doing as per our local needs, as per our local situations, and we are not supporting war here. So our trade or our business is only because of our need, and not because of supporting any country for war. Firstly, and it was a very firmly uh, told by Ministry of External Affairs and ministers across the globe. Secondly, because food security was in threat, or there was a threat across the globe. We have seen the countries like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and others, those who are actually fighting for basic amenities or basic requirement or need of this food grains, and that is why India has imposed export of these food grains to developed countries, not the developing or the underdeveloping countries. And we have supported several other countries sending the food grains as an aid also during this time only. So very precisely, Ministry of External Affairs had said on this, and they put on their thoughts towards the globe and to the globe, what and why we are doing it. And that is way we need to actually pitch uh, our thoughts, our vision, our ideas whenever the crises are there in the country or across the globe. What is the recent development? If I see, you see the recent development happening, what is the recent development going to be happen within time frame of 1 month or so? Any recent development for this war? Any other view? Is I audible to you all?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So what is your any recent development is going around?
So the recent development is not being covered in the news. Nowadays,
Okay.
politics is going on.
So very recently, BRICS meeting was there. Okay, India is a part of the BRICS. What is this BRICS actually?
So Brazil, Russia, South Africa,
Brazil, Russia,
China, India.
India, South Africa, China.
These are the countries, those who are the part of BRICS. Okay, and what is going to happen? They all are actually trying or asking India to mediate between these two countries, that is Russia and Ukraine, to stop the war. And very likelihood that India will be the part of this particular negotiation, so that this war will get ceasefire. Okay, that is a very recent development. Although it's the talks are going around. Uh, I'm sure or I'm positive for that will happen actually in sooner time or lesser time of 1 month or so. And if this is happening, the global crisis which is actually there already,
Sir,
yeah.
excuse me, sir. Sir, I want to ask, sir, what will happen to the students, those who have came back to India? What will happen to them, sir? Their year will be wasted or what? Or something will be done for them?
Two developments are there actually for those students. Firstly, Ukraine country, the officials of that country, they have informed to all of the students that their registration will be there for 1 year. Okay, and the education will go on online mode, and they are planning to sign an MOU with different countries, and India is also planning different MOU with that particular country so that these students can be actually transferred or switched to Indian universities or Indian colleges for medical, uh, uh, for all those medical students.
Okay, sir.
So at two level meetings are going around that how we can utilize these students or how we can actually source these students to different colleges in India. Although that particular state, that is Ukraine, they informed that this is a temporary phase because of the warfare. After 1 year or so, they have given a time period also, timeline also in that after 1 year or so, they need to come back to Ukraine once this get neutralized. So students will be going back to that particular country post the war, and the education is going around uh, with online board, and their registration for year will be considered actually. Suppose someone is just now enrolled in that particular college of the Ukraine. So he or she will be getting the leverage of 1 year or so, as if now. Okay. So these two developments are there.
Okay, sir.
Any other question? Okay, let me give you. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but your screen. How to go? How to go? Hmm. Where was it? Is it visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me give you the source that Russia-Ukraine war, what all affected in India. This is article from Business World. Trade and exchange and Indian-Russian trade relations are well known. India trade with Russia is almost USD 10 billion, that is 1.3% of India's total. India imports a lot of valuable and semi-valuable stones, minerals, oil, boilers, nuclear reactors composed from Russia, and all of this exchange has been impacted with the flowing effect of Indian economy. Ukraine and India also carry good. See, we have a good relations, trade and exchange relations with Russia for these articles, and Ukraine also. India import from Ukraine USD 2.14 billion, and for 9 months of financial year 2020, this is around 0.54% and for 0.45% of India's complete import. So there is an import and good number of import 2.14 billion was there. The impact was is in impact on oil prices. Earlier, the oil price was somewhere around. Uh, this is the vital suspicion behind the GDP development economic survey of India last year was that oil cost will be USD 70 to 75 per barrel rather than USD $100. This was the suspicion, and actually it get enhanced. Fuel and power have 13% weightage in the discount value record. So this get enhanced actually. The emergency has likewise pushed up the cost of imported manure to India, especially urea and potash from Russia. This takes steps to expand the farming manure subsidy bill of government by using USD 1.3 dollar. This potash and urea is utilized across the globe. This is not only for India actually. Wherever the farming, wherever the agriculture is going around, this is required. That is urea and potash, and this get impacted across the globe. Just to boost to food grow export, Russia-Ukraine struggle is likewise offering way to chance for select Indian farming exporters, particularly wheat, maize, millet, and processed food. This gives a chance to us, of course. No significant markets like Australia, Pakistan, and Brazil are expected for fresh wheat. See the danger that there was no such fresh market available. India was actually want to send out 10 to 12 million metric ton of wheat this year to markets emptied by Russia and Ukraine. Because of this Russia and Ukraine, across globe, the reduction was there, and India was trying to actually take the opportunity of this so that they can actually send it to other countries. This particular, likewise, next top the rundown of items sent from India to both Ukraine and Russia. We are exporting it actually. India's absolute direct send out remained USD 19 point. See the big number, 19.4 billion or 14.4 billion to these countries, Ukraine and Russia, and this get affected actually. Pharmaceutical portion in absolute product of India is 6.6% in financial year or 4.7 percentage to the GDP actually, the total percentage. And this get affected because of this particular warfare. Now coming to this is the article of John Hopkins. It's the biggest, of course, research they are doing. They keep on doing. This is John Hopkins University's article. What they are saying is there will be an ongoing humanitarian crisis will be there. No internet will be there. No temporary protected devices will be used. Banking, education, employment, and other rights will get halt because of this warfare. The food insecurity will be there. In addition, at least 16 countries have recently issued export ban on staple commodities. Russia and Ukraine produce 30% of the world wheat, along with other commodities, including sunflower oil, agriculture, fertilizer. See the scape or see the effect of this warfare that this is actually going to export. These two countries are exporting 30% of their produce. But because of the decline, because of this war, already due to the COVID-19, there was a disruption. Just post pandemic, again we are into the different set of problems, and because of that, the globally we are facing the food security insecurity. It says shaking up Europe, of course, because every now and then either Russia is saying don't join NATO, don't join European Union, and they are also extensively leveraging how to utilize this particular opportunity so that Ukraine becomes a member of this. So there is a makeshift between going around between the countries, between the Russia, between the Ukraine, and between these countries of NATO and the European countries. How this will end, we cannot predict it as if now that how this will end, but probably okay. Let me give you one more article on this. This is a defense review actually. Why this? What can be the effect of any of the war as per the defense or as per the view of the defense? 10 serious consequences of Russian-Ukraine war to the world. This article is from Defense View. That is, without a doubt, yesterday was the day that changed the world. That is on February 24th. The war in Ukraine broke out. The war continues brutally. The date actually this war begins was February 24th. The war continues brutally and people continues to fall in a pool of blood. As I said before, I am very pessimistic about the situation because all the situations have made it very clear that war is bound to happen. What more, what's, what is more, the opponent is Putin. The specific detail and current situation can't say. I saw many Western leaders say this was the darkest day in Europe after World War II. Maybe, but more precisely, this is the second time that first been the 1998 air raid on Yugoslavia. See how the global stock market crashed because of this warfare. All goes down because of the because of this, and this is the structure. Ukraine naval bases, where all these bases are, power stations, Ukraine air base, Ukraine military base, nuclear power stations, and this all are the power stations. Okay, this this is the power stations of nuclear. Okay, this is a demographic uh, availability or demographic map of Ukraine, of course, how they are placed militarily. Uh, the place is Russian military invasion in Ukraine. And remember, when the war starts, the global stock market culminated. Japanese stocks were faced worse. German stock, British stock were unbearable, and Russian stock market collapsed across the board. The Russian RTS index once fell by more than 50%. See the level of downgradation of the economics or the economics of the country. 50% this index goes down. That is all to say, all stocks were cut in half. Half of the wealth in hand was zero. You can imagine how tragic this is. International oil and gold prices soared, of course. Uh, Gold is also selling like crazy. Many gold stocks in A shares have daily limit, and international gold prices are also skyrocketing across the board. Anyway, 7.5 years, the international oil prices exceed $100, $100 per barrel. And you have seen that we are actually purchasing from Russia at the cost of $70 to $75 per barrel. That was because we are purchasing it and they are giving us a rebate of 30% or so. Humanitarian catastrophe, we all know whenever the war is there, how many deaths can be predicted, or the refugees will be there, 50,000 deaths, 5 million refugees. If you see, uh, or if you compare previous wars, what can be the death numbers and what can be the number of refugees flowing here and there, of course. The huge influx of refugees will flow into Russia and even more into the European Union, because if Ukraine is being targeted by Russia, the people, those who are refugees, they will actually use the land of European countries uh, as a refugee, of course. So more influx will be there in European countries, and this means there will be more economical burden for European countries to cater these people, those who are coming as a refugee to those countries. Although you cannot stop them because of the war. Sanction and sanctions, we keep on discussing that uh, globally we all actually are saying that okay, let us uh, put a sanction on Russia so that they will end up this war. But Russia is not going to stop likewise, and the war is still going around. February to June, it's already 5 months or so. Will Russia stop? This is still to think for. And completely rewriting European geopolitics. Of course, uh, they are now, remember that Russia has the largest conventional army in Europe, ready to use feared Eastern European names, states including Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, may demand a large number of NATO troops on their territories. These small countries, now they are asking that NATO troops to be there. Even NATO already deployed huge number of troops near Ukraine borders. So on these borders of the Ukraine, NATO forces are already there. Uh, so European geopolitics is changing, and the West had to adjust its strategy again. compared to Russia, compared to China, compared to other global countries, and the alliances are likewise drastic change of Western mentality. Uh, they need to think for now again and again that whom to choose and what best they need to choose, because they need to choose in either they will go with US or they will the alliance of NATO, how they are actually going to act precisely or wisely. And this conflict between European and uh, uh, Europe and United States, it is always there. Some countries are actually supporting it, and some countries are still are not in support of this warfare. And because of this, there is a conflict between Europe and United States too. India might help. This is what uh, this article is saying. And across the globe, each and everyone is actually in hope that India might help, because we keep on supporting Ukraine for sending our aids to the people, those who are affected by this war. And we have a good bilateral relations with Russia also. We have a good economic relations nowadays with America also. So somewhere down the line, the fit-in country who can actually or which can negotiate and make others to sit on the table and go for a negotiation is India. And people are eyeing on us, people are looking around for us. That is what actually was today's discussion. Floor is open to you all. You can actually ask any questions or can share your views on this रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर. आप लोग कुछ भी बता सकते हैं या जैसे भी आपके आइडियाज कुछ हों, व्यूज हों. And request all to switch on the video so that we can have a peek also. Is I'm audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Team leaders, if you have anything to share. Nothing to share. कुछ
Yes,
wave नहीं
sir.
खुशी.
Sir, there will be the super lead told us that there will be one meeting where all the interns have to attend it. So what time will be suitable for everyone? Like all the interns of many NGOs.
Wow. Please come again.
Sir, the super leader, Pankhuri, she's a super leader. She wants to have the meeting with all the interns instead of like we were having meetings
Got
with
it.
just
So
the
when you
group
guys
leaders.
can
So,
just share your
yes.
timings accordingly, plan it accordingly.
Please update your reports, and I have shared the attendance PDF in the group, and it is on the basis of your response, which I asked on in the morning, that please tell me that who all will be present. So those who replied early, their attendance is marked present, and
See,
those who,
I was late, but I was late.
yeah,
हाँ,
but you are a regular student, so I marked you present.
Thank you.
And those students who are regular, I have marked them present, but those who are absent and present and have told late, their attendance is marked absent.
खुशी श्रीवास्तव, कोई view on the Ukraine and Russia war? No views. प्रियांशी, your thought on war? होना चाहिए नहीं होना चाहिए, पहली चीज तो यही बताओ.
No, sir, actually, what I came to know, because there is someone who actually was studying in Ukraine, and she told me that they were already given a warning to come back to India, but their all mentality was that nothing is happening around
We are
them.
Indians.
So
We are Indians. They have shared this thing 3 months back actually.
yes, sir.
The notification was there even in Ministry of External Affairs. The notification was there that there is likelihood of war between India and Russia. So please evacuate and go back to your countries. The moment this will actually get smoother and each and everything will be in place, we will call you back. But we the Indians, we will not follow ना,
Yes.
हमको तो सुनना ही नहीं है.
Sir, same with my sir first cousins also. Sir, they were also gone to study MBBS there. So sir, they were also telling that there are chances. And sir, the point that they were very scared because the bombs and all. Sir, they were bombing was done in front of their eyes itself.
See, the situation was such na, the exact place, that is western part of Russia and eastern part of
To the
Ukraine.
border, yes.
Huh. That particular place, that particular actually were the highly hit or hostile place, and students were stuck up there only. So many colleges and universities was at that particular place. And we, although our team members, external affair ministry, aviation ministry, we have put up a nodal point, but it was very much difficult during that particular selling to make students to reach on that particular places. It was really a, can nuclear war happen, sir? Sivan, it totally depends upon the countries. Like if you see, if China will be there in the place,